Welcome to the Mentor Studio, where today's thought leaders and leading entrepreneurs inspire and bring real-world ideas that help you take your career to levels you've only dreamed of. Now buckle in. Here's your host, Michael Silvers.
Welcome, everyone. I am Jonathan Troen. I'm excited to be with Michael Fomkin. He is the creator of VIP Ignite Live. He's one of the biggest agents around. I'm so grateful that you're here.
I am so excited to be here today. And thank you so much for having me on this. This is so exciting to be here with you. Like, I know you actually spoke at one of our events, but now I'm sitting here with you. It's absolutely crazy.
Isn't in person so much more fun?
Oh my God, it's so great.
I know you guys are watching this online in the box. I get that, but in person is really cool. So, you've been in this agency space a long time. Like, how did you first get into this world?
I've been doing this now for 16 years. I used to be in the restaurant industry for a long time when I was younger. And I did that for a long time, working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was really burnt out. And I decided to sell the restaurant. And I literally just found myself not knowing what to do with my life. And just to kind of give you the time perspective, this was back in 2001. So this was before the iPhone, before Facebook or anything like that. And I went online and I just saw this ad. And it was like, own a modeling agency, judge beauty contests, meet beautiful people. I was like, wait a second. I've been working in the restaurant industry, smelling like garlic, covered in flour, and there was an opportunity to judge beauty contests. Sign me up and called the company up. And it was actually a software company. So it wasn't really so much about judging beauty contests. That was the get you to show up kind of deal. But what they were doing is they were developing software for modeling agencies to be able to submit talent to clients digitally. So at the time, this was like very revolutionary. This was like at the forefront of the internet revolution. And the company did really well. I invested into it. Wound up going from one office to owning like 15 offices throughout the country. And we would present, software and help these agencies build their software platform. Company did great. They went from zero to $150 million within 2 years. I had working literally underneath me close to 5,000 employees. And just like a lot of these startups back then, they did really well, but their burn rate was a lot higher than what they were bringing in. So I got a call one day from the head of the company. They're like, hey, just to let you know, I know you did a really great job and you really believed in us, but we're declaring bankruptcy. And oh, by the way, we're closing tomorrow. So you have to shut everything down. And I was just like, literally, I was having the best time of my life. I was traveling. I had offices all throughout the country. And I was just like, I literally just found myself for the second time in my life, not knowing what to do, what was next. And at the time, the company, they had this concept where they wanted to do these events because they were trying to build their brand up and they wanted people to kind of be aware of the technology, but they wanted to bring like models and agencies together for these live events. So I said, okay, well, the company's gone. It was a great idea. Maybe I could do something similar, right? Keeps me within the same genre. And I would do something really small. I'd keep it like 125 people. I would host it in New York City. And the issue was I had relationships with some of the agencies, but we were software. So it wasn't like I was really per se, in the acting or the modeling industry. It was a software. We were a vendor. So I said, okay, well, let me turn to, Craigslist. I'll run an ad online. And I said, okay, sat down at the computer. I said, okay, let me see. How can I phrase this? I was like, all right, well, hosting an entertainment industry, hosting an entertainment event. We need speakers that can talk about the TV, film, fashion industry. And I was like, must love kids. And, oh, by the way, we'll compensate you and we'll also provide lunch. I literally remember this word for word, so short, so simple, put it out there, went to sleep. And I woke up the next day and I went to go check the ad. And I literally had 40 responses. I had people from like NBC. I had actors from TV. I had all these people. I was like, oh my God, these guys must really want a free lunch. This is incredible. But what it was unbeknownst to me, I happened to put the ad up on the exact day of the writer's strike in New York City. So all these different people that were going to be out of work. So all of a sudden they saw my little ad and like, oh, here's a cute gig. I'll get to speak about what I love. Long story short, about 50 people applied. I narrowed it down to about 10. And those 10 people in the past 16 years, each person like introduced us to somebody else in the industry. And then they introduced us to somebody else and so forth. And those 10 turned into over 450 people that we work with, ranging from the vice president of Warner Brothers Casting to numerous Academy Award winning actors to the most amazing people in the world. We have 3 Phantoms of the Operas that have spoken at our events. And as we were doing this, that one ad, it turned into something really incredible. Not only being able to help thousands of people appear on TV and film and walk runways in New York and Milan and all over the world, but I myself wanted to learn about the industry even more And every time we'd hire a speaker, I would say, well, tell me more about what you do. Tell me, how do you do? What's your framework and all that? And we started investing in projects with a lot of these connections we started making. And those connections turned into 38 awards, including 6 Tonys. 2013, I won the Tony for Best Play. We have a book coming out next year and produced 2 films. We just did the premiere for one of our new films out in LA. And it's just been an incredible ride. And it's just so amazing that what was something that could have been devastating to literally get this call, and everything you built your life up and you were planning on having this incredible life was gone in an instant, and then having to start all over again. But I'm so glad that everything went the way it did, because now I wouldn't have the opportunity to be sitting here talking with you and doing all these really cool, incredible things.
But what a mindset, because a lot of people, they would get that call and, they just go to the bar or hide out for a month and go, oh, what am I going to do? And you go, okay, I got to figure this out. And you throw up a free Craigslist ad and boom, turn it into a company. So what made you show up for more instead of retreat into another defeat?
I had the responsibility of having a lot of people that depended upon me for work. And I had my own family, and which was important to me, of course, but it was also the people that were with me during this whole journey. And when this whole transition happened, I was like, these people are going to all be out of work too. These people have families and bills and so forth. And I just felt it was my moral obligation to do something. And it was just, I guess it was just the right moment, the right time. And, a lot of people, obviously we couldn't bring everybody with us, but the one thing I did was I made sure every single person was paid up to date. Every person got a letter of recommendation. I did whatever it took, that whatever the cost to myself was, didn't matter. Like literally that transition, was hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I knew I could have easily walked away and just looked the other way and said, okay, guys, well, the best of luck. But I knew that I was obligated to even the talent that we represented, like a lot of talent that we had through the other company, like that were in that transition of working with some of these agencies that may have not gotten signed, but it was our software. I just felt it was my moral obligation, honestly. Yeah. And when you have, a big enough why, you can do anything. Sleep doesn't matter. You figure things out. The most incredible thing, it's so true. So many years, I never believed that, well, if you really believe in something and you put it out to the universe and it can happen. But I always thought, that's just, I don't know about that. But it's so true. When you put out there what you want to get done. And I guess the science, because I'm really into always analyzing things and science and how things work, is I guess the drive makes you make it happen, right? It's like being here with you, or, there's every single person in the world has the same 24 hours. They have the same 60 minutes. They have the same amount of time. It's you have to maximize that time, that you get the job done no matter what. When every time I start a company, I always tell people that are closest to me, I'm like, follow my example and follow my lead. But just so you know, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Like if I have to be up 20 hours a day, I'll be up 20 hours a day. If I have to be up 24 hours a day, whatever it takes. I remember one time when I started my first office, me and the office manager, we had to get furniture. And we were in one office. We were in a smaller office, and we were very busy. We were so busy that the landlord was like, listen, you can't be here anymore. There's like a line going around the block. It was like American Idol every night. And he's like, listen, you guys are cool, but we can't have you here. And he gave us to the end of the week to find another space. So I wound up finding a much, much larger space. And I remember this so well. And I had to get all new furniture. And I was like, listen, we got about 72 hours to move the office from one location to the other. I was like, let's go to IKEA. We'll get some furniture. And I remember getting on the highway, and I was like, I don't even know where IKEA was at the time. We had the directions, but it was like literally like 150 miles away from where we were. And he looks at me, and I was like, dude, we're doing this. we're driving there. We're getting the furniture. We're loading it up on the truck, and we're coming back, and we're going to spend all night setting this furniture up. Like, we will be ready by the next day to be open. And it's having that type of drive and determination. Like, there is no excuse. Like, there's just, you can have results or you can make excuses, but you can't do both. And I see so many times entrepreneurs, when they're first starting out, they always come up with the excuses, especially in my industry for the talent. I'm too tall. I'm too short. I'm too old, too this. Well, wait a second, change your story and change your life. Like, leverage in what you have and don't worry about what you don't have. Right? Think about it. People say, well, I don't have enough money to start a business. I don't have this. I don't have that. Hold on. What do you have? Right? Well, do you have connection? Do you have the ability? Right? Do you have the mindset to go out and figure things out? Well, yeah, I do. Then concentrate on that. Don't worry about what you don't have. Only concentrate on the resources that you have. Okay. It's not always about just finding the resources, but being resourceful. And when you're able to be resourceful, you can make anything happen. There are 100%, there are no excuses to make anything happen, especially when it comes to business.
So I want to talk about some of those mental stories that you're sharing there, because I spent a lot of time in Hollywood, as you know.
Yeah.
And what I came across, and this was true in my life, on paper, everything looked amazing, right? But I wasn't happy. And then I discovered there were all these other people. And of course, we know the stories like Anthony Bourdain, right?
Mhm.
So how do we begin? One is, do you see a disconnect between someone who can really have success outward on paper? We look at this person, they're huge, but they don't feel it inside. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I do. And I interview a lot of prospective talent that are new to the industry, and they have this real excitement in their eye, and they're really passionate. And a lot of times I talk to them about really the hard work that's involved. And not only just the hard work, but also that just the support systems in their life for friends and family. Because when you're first starting out, you're giving up a lot. You're giving up time. You're probably not making a great income and so forth. And literally everybody in your life is telling you, I told you so. And you have to push through. And then there are people who push through and do become successful. And then they kind of find there's not that happiness there. They got the house. They got the car, they may have the beautiful, significant other, and, they have financial abundance and so forth, but they're still missing something. And I always tell all the talent, I tell them right at the beginning when I first interview, one of our interview questions is what charity are you looking to support? Let's just say it was a year from now, we were sitting having coffee, all your dreams came true. What's next for you? And I think for people who, even because I found myself like this, too, even at sometimes the height of success, I was just like, what else is there? What am I really great? I'm in the TV film business. Wow. Everyone thinks it's so exciting, but it's really not as exciting as people think, right? They see the glitz and the glamour and what they perceive, from a television or from a book. And it's a lot of hard work. And, the lucky part of the industry is surrounding yourself with some great people. I'm sure, as you know, working in the film industry, people are really hardworking. They're very dedicated. But at the end, you really have to find that why and something outside of that genre that you really believe in. Something that you say in the morning when I wake up, this is why I'm doing this past the actual job. If I get better at what I'm doing, I can help 1 million people. Right. So what we do is for us, one of our whys is we help with people who are displaced and homeless. And what we do is for every city, and we don't even advertise this. That's not something we even talk about that much. But what we do is our goal is always every city where we're hosting an event, we're going to provide 25,000 meals. It's an interesting thing because as I'm sitting there in the audience and I'm running these events and I'm shaking hands with celebrities and seeing all these success stories, and it's really amazing. But then I also know every hand that I shake, every success story I have means that a family's eating that night. So when you have something like that in your life, and maybe it could be, the push for your family to do better and so forth. But like you said, there comes a point where you won't find happiness in what you're doing. You find joy in it, but to really have a fulfilling life, you really need to go beyond that. We've helped build schools in Costa Rica. We've done some really amazing things with giving back. We've helped free over 3,500 children from sex trafficking with our partners, Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels and Tony Robbins and the Tony Robbins Foundation. So it's when you know that you can make an impact on a child's life that you'll never meet, but is going through such a hard condition. And by you getting up in the morning and pushing through that, it opens up your heart, and in that you're able to find the joy and a happiness. And then as time goes on, then your business reignites itself. And now all of a sudden, because there were times where even, where I wanted to just sell the company, I was just like, you know what, I'm done. I know what I want to do. My accountant always liked to say, you know what, it seems like you like to build businesses. And then, and I was like, yeah, I guess I do. So I can relate to that. And I hope that's the kind of an answer that may provide some inspiration for people, but that's from my experience. And maybe this is my hallucination, but I know find something that's bigger than you. And it's really incredible it really inspires you when you can find something that's so big that you can make such a big difference. Never in my life could I think that I would help 3,500 kids. I could feed 25,000 people in a city and being able that really makes such an impact. It really inspires you. So
how did you find your whys?
That's a great question. And I give so much advice on that for people to find their whys and to go out. For a long time, I didn't know what my why was, honestly. I leaned on my family. I leaned on the company and the employees and so forth. But, one of my staff members introduced me to the concept of helping children. And when I was like, oh, that's such a hard thing. I don't even know if I want to help. It just seems like I could never do enough. Right. And I was like, well, wait a second, that can't that I can't look at that. I have to change my story because, she told me this story about, it's an interesting story she told me, and it's kind of what changed my life for seeing things differently. She told me a story about a young boy who was walking along the beach and all these starfish were getting washed up on the shore. And this little boy would pick up the starfish and he'd throw it back in the ocean. Then he'd pick up another starfish and he'd throw it back in the ocean. And there was, hundreds and thousands of them washed, up on the shore. And some guy comes along, he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You're wasting your time." He's like, "You're never, ever going to save all these starfish. They're going to die. The sun is beating down on them." And the little boy looks up and he picks up a starfish and he goes, throws it. He goes, "Well, I saved that one." And it's an interesting thing to say, you know what? Maybe I can't save everybody, but you know what? I saved that one. So
How would you define success for you?
the impact that you leave on others, the success that you're able to give to others, when you really start providing value to others without asking for anything in return, I think that's really a successful life because you have the opportunity to be able to do things to make a difference in people's lives without the concern for yourself. So many times I see people starting off, they're only, well, I have to pay the rent, I have to pay the bills and things like that. I can't donate my time. I can't do these things. You know what? There's 24 hours in a day. You can figure out, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes, taking time to follow up with a client or following up with a customer, turning off Netflix, right? People don't, one of the greatest tools I could tell you I've ever done, because I always felt I never had enough time. And somebody once told me, you know what, get a little sheet and break it down by like 5 minutes and track what you do in the morning. Like literally when you woke up, what did you do? Right? Well, I checked my email. No, is that what you did? Well, no. Well, we kind of lied there for a few minutes. How long did you spend brushing your teeth? What did you do then? And you really start finding out, like when you micro manage your time, how much time you like really waste, just like I'm just sitting there thinking, or I'm sitting in bed doing nothing, or I wind up clicking on the news and all of a sudden it's 30 minutes later and you just get caught up, or you get caught up on social media. Like, social media plays a big influence in our business, but at the same time, I'm very cautious I use social media as a tool for our business. And I teach people that at the end of the day, social media is a tool. Don't get so caught up into it that you're putting, multiple hours a day just watching other people live their lives. Go out and live your life and set up systems. Like a lot of times, even for myself with sharing things, I may be somewhere in the world. I may not share an image for that for maybe 2 or 3 weeks because I want to live my life and actually be there in the moment versus worrying about taking a picture of my food or taking a picture of the sunset and having immediately sharing it. You know what? I'm missing a part of that sunset. So it's kind of hard to do at first, but when you change your story and change your mindset and you actually just sit there and live your life and not so much and look at social media as a tool, things really start changing for you very quickly.
What would you tell this young kid that is running the restaurant? What would you say to him?
I would tell them to never give up. I would tell them the mistakes you're going to make are going to make you who you are. I would tell that person not to beat yourself up so much. I think as entrepreneurs, we're our own worst critic. And when I learned to get past that, that's like when really things started being a lot more exciting, a lot more better, started being a lot more successful when I wasn't beating myself up as much. But I think I had to learn that. Like, I think everything you go through is a blessing, no matter how hard it may seem at the moment, there's a blessing in it. And it's just a matter of figuring out what that blessing is and seeing life that way. You have to see it that way. Like, I don't know why this is happening to me right now, but I know this is a blessing. What could that possibly, what am I learning from that? What am I learning? Somebody wrongs you. Well, you know what? I understand that was terrible what happened to you, but now you learn what not to be like to others, right?
When did you make that shift from beating yourself up to maybe becoming a friend to yourself? Was there a teacher that you found or a mentor?
I was actually working with Tony Robbins. I'm a Tony Robbins Platinum partner. So having the opportunity to travel around the world and really work very closely with Tony and his team really kind of opened up my eyes to that.
Wow. So what did he say? What were the words he used that opened that part of your brain?
He had to use a lot of words.
It's Tony.
It wasn't that easy, but it really came down to changing your story and really having, it took me a long time to realize, having the gratitude for what I have in my life and not worrying about what's not in my life. And I said, well, that's easy for Tony Robbins to say. He's got everything. He's talking about this $200,000 stereo system he just put in his house. That's easy for him to say. But then I realized it was, again, like making that breakthrough, like, wait a second, I'm just worried about what he has. I'm focused on what he has. So it's really learning to start catching those negative thoughts and being able to twist them, saying, okay, why am I thinking this right now? What's causing me to feel this way? Is this who I really am at my core? Or am I somebody else? And it's a conditioning, just like your mind is just like a muscle, like every other muscle in your body. It has to be trained and conditioned. Like you're in charge of your mind, right? When you think about it, you're in charge of your thoughts, right? Your thoughts get carried away and you start drifting off. Whoa, hold on there, right? Let me get back focused. And so many times until you make that realization that you control your thoughts, you control the outcome of your life, when you're able to put that focus in there. And it was really through the teachings and spending a lot of time, not only with himself, but with a lot of other plats, being able to catch those thoughts, having conversations with people and surrounding yourself with people who make those realizations and being able to have them say, well, hold on, Mike, you got that negative thought. Hold on, let's talk about it. Why is this coming up? Not just rushing it away. A lot of times people, I can't think that. No, hold on. Because the answer is there, right? The obstacle is the way, right?
Yeah.
Right? Whatever the obstacle is, that becomes the way. So that negative thought, that's the obstacle for the moment. Address it and find out why you're thinking that. And a lot of times you'll say, well, it's because of fear. Right? I'm afraid of trying something new. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of what other people may think of me. And, it's just all of a sudden you make this realization, well, how can I change that? Right? What would really happen if I failed? What would be that outcome? What could I learn from that? How could I overcome that? What benefits could come from that? Or how can I make sure that I don't? And then start asking yourself better questions, writing things down, very rapidly, looking at things from outside the box, seeing every type of angle. Who can I reach out to? Right? Who's the right person that may be able to help me overcome this? But having that great group to be in, people, I always, and it's such a true saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? You need to always find people who push you further and push you harder, but at the same time, you got to be willing to pull others too, right? So always being able to go back and help others, but finding people who are positive. Like, there's sometimes people, you have to make a decision in life to I love, one of the things I do is, kind of not so much cutting negative people out of my life, but I make judgments when I meet people. I'll say, hey, you know what? People say, how you doing? I'm like, you know what? I'm living the dream every day of my life. And I get two responses. One's like, oh my God, that's so great. I love that. That's the person I want to hang out with. Somebody else is like, oh, well, good for you. I'm like, oh, okay. I think that person is awesome too, but I don't think I'm going to go out for a beer with you. I want to keep surrounding yourself with people who are positive and push you forward.
So with the people you work with in your agency, how do you make sure that they get that mindset that you're talking about?
So what we do is we have like an indoctrination and onboarding system where we try to make them understand the importance of having that positive mindset, because it's going to be, it really comes down to when you're going to walk onto an audition, right? You could be the greatest, hottest girl in the world, the most devastatingly handsome guy. You could literally be so good looking when you walk out your door, people look at you and faint. They're just like, oh my God, that person's so good looking, and they pass out. But if you show up on set and you're the person, it's too hot, it's too cold, my feet are da 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 da, no one's going to really want to work with you. Showing them the importance of it's the personality, and you want to be able to be the type of person that other people want to work with, right? Showing an interest in who you're auditioning with. So that's very helpful at the beginning. Like that's our basic kind of training. But then as they kind of mature, everyone's going to have bad days and good days, but it's again, consistently working with them over and over again. We love taking the trainings and the things that we do, and we invest into our training. We've, invested well over $1 million in our training, the company's training, but taking that and then giving it back to the people we work with, our clients and so forth. And we found that that's been a really great system, because maybe for a lot of them first starting out, they may not have the financial abundance at that point in their life to be able to afford to work with a Tony Robbins or somebody, but at least giving them that inspiration and giving them the best training we can puts them on the right track. And we've been doing it for 16 years and we've seen some great results.
The mindset is working.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everything you shared. I hope that's been helpful. There's so much there. You can create it. You just have to have the right stories, ask the right questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on today. Absolute pleasure.
We're honored that you invested time with us today at the Mentor Studio. Now, don't be greedy. Share this knowledge bomb with all your dope peeps on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Actually, we'll even pay you to do it. To get the deets, please check out thementorstudio.com.